4 years ago, I made a decision that changed not only my life, but also our children's lives. I saw how my son's mental health was being affected. He would cry whenever it was time to get on the computer or come home asking me things like, "Mom, am I dumb?" He was changing and not for the better. So I did the one thing I never thought I would do. I always said that I would never do that because I didn't have the patience or it just wasn't for me. But there I was doing my research because my eyes were finally open. It felt like I could finally see the reality of how things really are. I dove into reading books about how children learn and how we learn overall as human beings. And I discovered that we learn most when there is interest and passion. I understood that real education is not the memorization of facts or taking tests. Instead, is the desire to learn new skills and information due to one little thing, and it's called curiosity. I learned that the best option for all my children looking ahead was and is to homeschool. And so I pulled out my son out of the system in 2020. And although we haven't looked back, there is a little problem that not a lot of homeschool moms talk enough about. And it caught me by surprise. Many homeschool moms on social media talk about how beautiful and beneficial homeschooling is and how it has been for their family and children. However, they don't talk about the power struggles or the defiance. So I found myself feeling extremely alone in the first 2 years of our homeschool experience. There was conflict and I felt myself doing one of two things with my son specifically. I was either pushing my son to work on his workbook lessons or I found myself bribing him to do the workbook lessons. So I decided to just pause, think, and reflect, and I knew there had to be a better way for my son to learn without heavily relying on workbook lessons. That's when I discovered I can recreate school at home. Sure, it's called homeschool, but it's actually home learning, home education. How to really learn. We started doing hands-on science, and we started with experiments, and we started engaging in kitchen science. So instead of relying on the workbooks, we took it to hands-on activities where we cooked it together, we cooked different meals, and I started reading different types of books to my son and my daughter at the time. I did tons of read alouds. It was about mental health, about mindset, about money, about finances. Then one day, my son saw me using an app, and it's called Canva. And he asked me, "Mom, can you teach me how to use Canva?" And so I did. And he designed his very first graphic hoodie. And then something else happened. My son asked me, "Mom, can you teach me how to make videos? I want to have my own YouTube channel." What do you think happened? He started by recording gaming videos until one day, while I was working, my son approached me and he showed me something called Lego stop motion animation. He told me he wanted to learn. He was so excited. He's like, "Mom, I think I can do this." So I told him to do the research and let me know what he would need to create those kinds of videos. I went back to work, and by the end of the day, he knew the stop motion app he needed. And so his dad and I, we talked, and I told him we would support him in his vision. We purchased the app and another editing software that he needed. Since then, he has produced more than 800 YouTube shorts. And he has self-published 2 books, which we produced together with markers and using Canva. And it even encouraged his younger sister to produce her own story and self-publish it on Amazon KDP as well. And right now, I know one thing for sure. There is passion when there is interest. And kids can learn anything that they put their minds to. Kids can learn things such as graphic design when it's broken down in terms that they can understand. And I realized, taking a step back now in 2024, that one of the best decisions that has changed my life, it has revolutionized the way that I think, the way that I live, is choosing to homeschool. I have become extremely accountable. I have become extremely disciplined with my time, with the things that I have to do, with my work, with the meal prep time. And why? Because homeschool, it really forced me to be extremely intentional about how we invest our time. It showed me that children feed off of what they see in you. My children feed off of what they see in me. And it makes me strive every single day to drop all excuses and just get things done. When you have a vision as a mom and you begin to condition your environment to reflect that vision, they too will begin to condition their own room, their own places within our home where they can actually express what that vision looks like. And as a family, we can run with it. And something that I like to say is that if we are believers in Christ and we believe that we live with purpose because God has given us a purpose, then what does that mean? It means that we must establish a vision of what God has deposited in our minds and in our hearts, and we have to run with it. Homeschool, home education, is not just about workbook lessons or following a curriculum. It's much more than that. It's about connectivity. It's about connecting as a family. It's about learning from one another. It's about understanding that we are a team. And every player within our family has specific skills and talents. And we all need each other. Home education has been such a life-changing decision for our family. And for me as a person, it has pushed me to my limits. It has pushed me out of my comfort zone. Sure, it's not always easy. But if we learn how to plan, we learn how to get organized. We have a checklist and we work as a team, life changes.